welcome back to my channel. My name is Jerry, and on this channel I love to talk about things related to healing, growth, spirituality, herbs, hoodoo, and all things of that nature. So if you're into learning about those kind of things, feel free to subscribe to this channel and leave a like on this video, because I know you're gonna love this video already. If you didn't read the title, today's video is going to be talking about moon phases and your cycle. How does the moon work with your menstrual cycle as a woman? This video came about because a lot of people have been talking about the moon and the menstrual cycle and how you can use your cycle to impact your magic on your spiritual journey. Now, this is something that is very common in the spiritual community, and I think that it's a very important topic for us, especially as women, to understand our womb, how our womb works, and how it connects to the moon, aka the mother of the planets. This is something that I feel like I really want to touch on. Today's video won't be specifically about how to use your cycle and your magic, but it will be talking about how to figure out what cycle you're with, whether it's with the pink moon, the red moon, the white moon, or the purple moon. And that's something we'll get more into later. But overall, this video will just be kind of an intro to using your cycle and your spirituality. I do have my handy dandy notebook, as Blue's Clues would say. And in this notebook, I have a lot of topics that I want to discuss. It's important to understand that the moon has an impact on your menstrual cycle as a woman, both in spiritual senses, mental, and physical senses. A scientist who goes by the name of Helfrich Foster, I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but Helfrich Foster ran tests on menstrual cycles of 22 different women. She kept data on them, tracking on them, and ran these tests to figure out how the moon works with our menstrual cycle. She found that it was extremely common for a woman's cycle to link up with a certain phase in the moon. So that could be the full moon, the new moon, the waxing moon, or the waning moon. And she found that it was very common for women to sync up with one of these four moon cycles, moon phases. Now, as I was talking about before, these four phases are called the white moon. So if you're a white moon woman, then there's the red moon, which is a red moon woman, the purple moon woman, and then the pink moon woman. And we will be talking about more in depth later in the video how these cycles affect us as women and what they can say about us and how they impact us. To better understand how the moon affects your cycle, you must first understand how your cycle works and the four major phases of your cycle. Before we start talking about that, I do just want to say that the days and the time ranges of your cycle varies from woman to woman. Typically, it's around 28 days, though, for your cycle to complete. The first phase of your cycle, this is what begins your cycle. This is the beginning of your cycle. This is known as the menstrual phase, or as we commonly call it, the period, when you start your period. This is basically when your uterus is shedding its lining. It's removing anything old, which is why it kind of correlates with the new moon. It's removing anything old to get ready for new beginnings, to get ready to build that lining back up and release an egg in hopes of having a baby, right? So during this phase, we may experience cramps. This is when our energy is typically very low. You may not want to do a lot of things. Stagnation is common with this phase of our cycle. So it is very common for women to be more tired, to be more agitated, more upset, or anything like that during this phase of our cycles. This is an important time for rest and recuperation for a lot of women. And most women with this modern society that we live in, we are constantly going, never taking time for ourselves, never taking time to rest and recuperate. And this deeply impacts our womb. It deeply impacts us as women, how we act and everything like that. So it is very important during your menstrual phase to rest and recuperate, and also to nourish your body in the ways that it needs to be nourished. What you eat will impact you for the rest of your cycle until it ends, typically between 28 days, by that 28-day mark, okay, for example. But like I said, some women's cycle can go longer than 28 days. That's just a general synopsis of what we have known for a while. So, the next phase of our cycle as women is the follicular phase. Now, think of this as your body basically building back up that lining that it just shed. It's just getting ready, basically putting on a new blanket after you wash your bed, if that makes sense. So, when you take all your bed sheets and your bedspread and your pillowcases, you take all of that off and you throw it in the washer. Think of that as the menstrual phase, right? And when you're making the bed up, right? When you're putting your sheets back on and you're putting your bedspread back on and you're fixing your pillowcases and making your bed all pretty, that is the follicular phase. It's your womb getting ready, basically. Of course, getting ready for a baby, and that's up to you whether you want to do that or not. But basically, your body is just getting ready for a baby, basically, or this is basically when your energy may start to increase during this time. So with your menstrual phase, when you're shedding and getting rid of that old stuff, you may be very drained, very tired. During this phase, the follicular phase, you are likely to have increased energy. It is still very important to maintain a nutritious diet during this time, however, to encourage a more enthusiastic rest of your cycle, if that makes sense. Now is the time where you really might start to do more things. You may kind of get more upbeat, have more energy, maybe start getting ready to set your goals for the month, maybe getting ready to achieve those goals for this month, or whatever it may be. During this time, you will likely feel more optimistic, more creative, and more just enthusiastic about life during this time, because you're building back your energy. Your energy is kind of building itself back up. This could typically be days 6 to 12 of your cycle. Your menstrual phase is usually day 1 to 5 or day 1 to 7, depending on the woman. And then the follicular phase is typically days 6 to days 12 of your cycle. But of course, this varies from woman to woman. Next is the ovulatory phase. So back to our metaphor of the bed. Once your bed is made up, this can kind of vary from person to person. Once again, just the same way it varies from woman to woman. Some people are going to lay in that bed after they make it up. Other people are going to be like, I don't really need to lay down right now. So think of whether you're going to lay down or not as, are you going to have a baby or not? Basically, right? So some people are going to lay down in that bed after they make it up, really fresh, really nice. They're going to lay down. They're going to rest and recuperate. Some people are going to be like, I don't really need that. I just made it all pretty. I want to appreciate it for a second. So think of this as determining whether you're going to have a baby or not. This is when your energy is at an all-time high. During your ovulatory phase, you are at peak you, basically. You may have way more energy. Increased libido is very common. So you may find yourself having more heightened sexual desires. You may find yourself being extremely energetic, extremely optimistic, and this is completely normal because your hormones are at an all-time high. Your estrogen is at an all-time high. Your testosterone is at an all-time high. All of these different hormones are so high in your body right now. So this completely makes sense to be completely extremely optimistic and extremely enthusiastic and just overall happy, right? The ovulatory phase varies from 13 days to 15 days. So it'll be typically between days 13 and 15, depending on the woman once again. The next phase of our cycle is going to be the luteal phase, right? So this is like the calm after the storm, if you think about it. This is when you start to come down. So this, back to that bed reference, this is when like you're going to bed, basically, when you're gonna lay down for the night. So this is when your energy starts to deplete once again, things start to mellow out, and this phase goes until your cycle begins again. This phase lasts until you start bleeding again. So once again, this can vary from woman to woman, but typically this phase will typically last from day 16 to day 18, or 16 to 28, depending on the woman once again. But this phase usually just lasts, and it's just that mellow after everything else has occurred of your cycle. After every other phase has been complete, this is the last phase of your cycle, right before you get that period again, as we call it. During this time, it is very common to start experiencing PMS symptoms. It's very common to start being more agitated, more irritated. This is because your hormones are starting to deplete again. And a lot of women actually don't know how their cycle fully works. They don't actually know all of the different hormones that go into their cycle. They don't really know how their cycle really affects them. This is why during your ovulation phase, you may agree to do something like, oh yeah, I'll go to this party with you. Someone invites you to a party. You're super optimistic. Yeah, I'm going to go to that party. But then the party is scheduled for, let's say, your menstrual phase, right? Or your luteal phase, when your energy is at an all-time low once again. And you're going to be like, oh, I don't really want to go. So this is why we as women, we have so many different moods, so many different energy levels throughout our phase, throughout our cycles. Men, they are typically on a 24-hour schedule, 24-hour cycle. This is why men, this society is made for us to work every day, work day to day. And this is why, because the men are with the sun. Think about it this way. The men is with the sun. The sun always rises. The sun is always going to be the same circumference. It's always going to be the same size, if that makes sense. The moon, we have so many different phases of the moon. We have the full moon. We have the new moon where you can't even see the moon. We have the waxing moon, the crescent moon. There's so many different ways the moon presents itself. And that is why women are typically with the moon and men are with the sun, if that makes sense. Men rise every single day, 24 hours is what men are, if that makes sense. Men have that 24-hour cycle, while women have that monthly cycle. It takes us the lunar phase to complete our cycle, and that is why the moon correlates with the woman's cycle in such a predominant way in our society. And a lot of women don't know that. Some women do. Some women actually have known this since they were really young. Some women got that knowledge when they were young, but most of us didn't. All of us know, most of us, we really just know that we have a period. That's about it. We just know that, oh, we're going to bleed once a month. That's usually what people tell us. They don't really go into depth about why we're bleeding, about all the other phases of our cycle. Because I know I didn't know this information until this past year. So this is something that I'm really excited to be able to share with you all, because I know not a lot of women know this information. Let's get into the fun part, our pink moons, our white moons, our red moons, and our purple moons, and what this means for you. Before we start discussing them, it's important to remember that your moon cycle, whether you're a pink moon, a red moon, a purple moon, or a white moon, this depends on when you start bleeding. So if you start bleeding with the new moon, then that would mean you're a white moon cycle. If you start bleeding with the full moon, then that would mean you're a red moon cycle. So it's all about when you start menstruating. Talk about how you can track that later as well. The white moon cycle is when you start menstruating with the new moon. If you start bleeding with the new moon, congratulations, you're a white moon cycle. That means you're with the white moon. What does this mean for you, and how does it present itself in your life? You're very likely to be very intuitive. If you're with the white moon, it's likely that you're very intuitive. You may have very strong intuition, especially during the time while you have this cycle. It is also common for you to switch either from a white moon to a red moon, or from a pink moon to a purple moon. That's completely common. It's all about where you are in your life, and this can tell you a lot about what you need to be doing in your life during the time that you are with this moon cycle, if that makes sense. So being with the white moon can present itself as having a nurturing personality, being highly intuitive, and needing self-care. White moon cycles typically are known to be the mother, if that makes sense. Back in the day, they were considered to be great moms. They would make great mothers. This is because they are extremely nurturing to the point where they don't nurture themselves. So with the white moon cycle, it can be a calling to start to take care of yourself more. It can be a calling to start doing things for you and not for others. They are extremely nurturing and extremely caring, but this can kind of bump heads with them because they are always giving. And the white moon cycle presents itself when it's time for you to start focusing your energy inward, focusing on yourself, focusing on healing yourself, rather than always trying to achieve and help other people. Not to say it's bad to help other people, but this white moon cycle is basically just telling us, hey, it's time to focus on yourself. It's time to focus on what you need and what you want in your life, at least in this moment, because like I said, it's always changing. It's very common for you to have a white moon cycle if you started a healing journey of some sort. So if you've recently started going to therapy, if you've recently started doing shadow work, if you've recently started a spiritual journey, if you've recently started to heal yourself in any way, shape, or form, it's likely for you to be a white moon cycle. This is because you've started that inward healing. You've started to focus on yourself, and you started to focus on that self-care that you may desperately need. Your body is telling you, your cycle, your menstrual cycle tells you so many things about yourself and what you need to do and what your body needs. That's why it's important to pay attention to your cycle and symptoms and everything of that nature. Being with the white moon really indicates a need to go within and a need to focus on oneself. So if you are with the white moon, if you start menstruating with the new moon, this is just telling you, hey, focus on yourself. You need to go within. You need to start healing yourself. You need to start taking care of yourself the way you take care of everyone else. That's basically the gist of being with the white moon. So think of being with the white moon as taking time for yourself, leaning back and just healing yourself before you go out and try to heal others. The white moon cycles can typically also spend a lot of time alone because they need that time alone. So they may, once they get the chance to be alone, they're like, okay, this is perfect. Like, no one bother me. This is my time. And they're trying to really savor any second that they can get alone because they may be constantly helping other people, constantly taking care of other people, and constantly reaching out to other people. Talking about our red moon cycles, what does it mean to be with the red moon? The red moon is the full moon. If you start menstruating with the full moon, then congratulations, you're a red moon cycle. Now, red moon women present themselves as maybe being super social. They may love to be in social settings. They may be very optimistic, enthusiastic, and extroverted. Also very empowered and independently strong with who they are. They don't really need other people to validate them or tell them who they are because they already know who they are. Red moon cycles also help other people, but in a different way than what white moon cycles do. White moon cycles are very nurturing and maybe even motherly. Red moon cycles are empowering, so they may be feminist. It is also very common for red moon cycles to be deemed as witches, healers, shamans. They are also very good at being in the occult. They are very in tune as well. They also have a very strong intuition, the same that a white moon cycle does. This is mostly because the full moon is at its peak. So when you are bleeding with the full moon, basically, this just means you're at your peak, right? This is the peak of the moon cycles, if that makes sense. This is peak of the moon cycle. So if you're bleeding with the red moon, if you're bleeding with the full moon, you are a red moon. This is just basically talking about how your energy is at a full, you're at your peak, right? It's like a blossom. Like white moon cycles, think of the flower. Okay, white moon cycles are like this. They're not even open yet. Red moon cycles, though, are just completely out there, extroverted, super happy, just completely optimistic and at their peak, right? Red moon cycles are typically focused on self-actualization and empowering other women. They pride themselves on empowering other women, which is why they might be feminists. You may find yourself being helpful to other women and empowering other women and being in that feminist energy. Obviously, red moon cycles are highly spiritually sensitive, if that makes sense. They are very sensitive to the spiritual world. So this is why they make great shamans. They are known as being wisdom keepers. They are very wise, be deemed as being a witch, which isn't a bad thing. It's just basically saying you're very in tune with the spiritual realm and the occult. They also make great midwives. They do great working in midwifery as well. And so if you're a red moon cycle, you may be a doula. Shout out to all my doulas out there. I see y'all. But they also make great midwives and doulas because of that spiritual portal. Your womb is a portal, so they work well with the womb because they are highly in tune with the spiritual realm. Pink moon cycle. What does it mean to be with the pink moon cycle? So the pink moon is when you bleed, menstruate with the waxing moon. When the moon is at its waxing phase, you are with a pink moon cycle. This can present itself as you being extremely playful, creative, and joyful. Also having that lightheartedness and carefree energy about you. This is because, back to that flower reference, so this is the white moon cycle. Think of this as being the pink moon cycle, right? Pink moons are just now starting to open up and blossom. They're getting ready to become that red moon cycle, right? So white moon cycle is like this. pink moon cycle is just getting ready to completely open up their shell. This is because, think of it like this: when the moon is waxing, it's basically getting ready to become the full moon. When the moon is waning, it's getting ready to become the new moon. So that's the purple moon cycle, but we'll get more into that later. The pink moon cycle is basically getting ready to be at its peak. So they're known to be playful, creative, lighthearted. This is because the sun is finally shining on them. They're finally starting to see the light again. Like, oh my gosh, like everything's opening up. There might be even present themselves as being childlike, like that courage, that curiousness, because they are about to blossom, right? They're about to blossom. So they present themselves as being extremely playful, extremely lighthearted, extremely childlike, and curious as well. If you're with a pink moon, you may be coming out of a period of darkness in your life. This may be presenting itself as maybe you were having a hard time previously and now you're starting to see the light. Now you're starting to remove a lot of blockages and things in your life. That is a representation of the pink moon, because the light is finally starting to show itself. The pink moon represents a period of transition and transformation, because you are getting ready to blossom. You're transitioning from this halfway open flower and getting ready to become this fully open flower, right? So you're transitioning. This is a time of change as well. Pink moon cycles are heavily associated with change. So you may experience a lot of changes in your life, a lot of changes in your behavior, and just overall change and transition. If you're with the pink moon, a lot of things may change in your spiritual life, in your physical life, in your career, in your relationships. This is all relative to the pink moon cycle. If you are with a pink moon, you're likely to have some sort of spiritual expansion or growth. You may recently find out that you have a new gift, a new spiritual gift, or anything like that, and that's because things are finally starting to change. Things are starting to blossom for you. So it's very common to find out that you have a new gift, or your gifts may be at an all-time high. If you are with the pink moon, this is because things are starting to blossom. You're also likely to start growing in a new direction. If you're with the pink moon, you're likely to start growing towards something, getting ready to transition towards something. It's likely for you to start becoming who you truly are, changing yourself once again, because you are getting ready to blossom. Think of a butterfly in its cocoon. You're in the cocoon right now, and once you come out of that cocoon, that's the red moon, right? Next, we're going to be talking about our purple moon cycle. So if you start menstruating with the waning moon, congratulations, you're the purple moon cycle. If you start menstruating when the moon is getting ready to become dark again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but this is basically just saying that you are about to go through a period of complete transformation. You're about to go into the darkness, right? Purple moons are likely to be very, very fierce because they are in this period of darkness. So they're like, hey, like, don't mess with me. I am going through complete transformation. I'm about to become a new person. Like, don't mess with me. I'm fierce. Like, right? Purple moons are very, very fierce women. They're very, very courageous as well. They're very strong and courageous because they are in the darkness. So if you were in a dark room, you would try to be courageous. You would try to be fierce and not afraid. So think of that as being a purple moon cycle. You are very courageous, very fierce, and very strong. It can also be deemed to be unpredictable. This is because they are in this period of change. And when they go through this darkness, they usually come out with extreme wisdom. They are usually extremely wise. Once they come out of this darkness, right? They come out with this newfound wisdom. So they are also known to be extremely wise. Another wisdom keeper. They're good at learning. They have learned a lot of lessons typically. Purple moon cycles usually have a lot to learn. So when they go into this darkness, when they're with the purple moon, this is because they are learning lessons. They are learning things. They are picking up wisdom. They are taking on that wisdom and embodying it. So this is why they can be considered unpredictable, because they might, after they change cycles, if they change cycles again, after this purple moon cycle, they may come out of this and be like, I'm quitting my job. It doesn't work for me. It's not what I'm meant to be doing. I'm quitting, right? Even if it's been a job that they've been at for like 15 years, they will quit it because they have learned wisdom. They may have found that they're not meant to be doing this job, or it's not serving them anymore. So if you're with the purple moon, you may be unpredictable. You may be likely to just up and change a lot. This is because you are with the purple moon and you're you're getting ready to understand and undergo this period of darkness and understanding yourself and learning a lot of things and gaining wisdom as well. Purple moon cycles may also need a lot of self-reflection, especially after they change, after they make certain decisions. This is because they need that time to kind of understand who they are, make sure that they're using the wisdom that they have learned in the right way, if that makes sense. So purple moon cycles may spend a lot of time alone once again. They also may be very, very calm and quiet or slower paced. And when I say this, I just mean they may rather take things slow and steady rather than to quickly try to get somewhere like a red moon cycle may do, right? This is just to say that they are trying to internalize everything that they may have learned recently with this purple moon being with their menstrual cycle, right? So they're trying to internalize everything that they've learned and use it to the best of their abilities and be able to grow and learn and move on from this point of darkness in their life. So purple moon cycles may be doing a lot of shadow work, or they may be getting ready to end their therapy sessions or anything like that. For example, they're kind of learning their lessons and moving forward now. Go ahead and feel free to leave a like on this video, but before I completely close out this video, I do want to talk about how do you track your cycle. So for me personally, I like to use the app called Clue. I'll put it somewhere over here, the app Clue. If you aren't sure who they are, they're a menstrual tracking app, and you can also use it for pregnancy. This isn't sponsored, by the way. I like Clue more than I like Flow because Flow will take your data and use it for other things. So I prefer to use Clue. And then I also use this other app called Moon Phases. I'll put it somewhere over here. And this is what I use. So if I start bleeding, I'll go to my Moon Phases app and say, okay, the moon is right now waxing. So that means I'm with the pink moon, you know? So that's the easiest way that I found. You can also do it using just a calendar. I have a calendar up there in this corner up here for the month, and you can use it that way. I have the full moon marked and the new moon marked. I don't have the waning and waxing moon on there, but do it that way as well and mark the week of your period and put the what phase the moon is at during that time as well. And that's a way to track your cycle. It's important to track your cycle, not only to find out what moon phase you are, but for so many other reasons as well. So I highly recommend tracking your cycle just for your overall mental health, physical health, and spiritual health. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and leave a like. Feel free to subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my social medias at Ashe and Ascend. Feel free to shop with me on my site and book a reading with me, asheandascend.com. And I hope to see you guys in my next video, and I hope to see you on any of my social medias. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.